I would like to thank you for having me here this evening. This is something I'm very, very passionate about, and I have wanted for a very, very long time. So with that, I appreciate you having me here this evening. The very first question I want to throw out to you, why full-day kindergarten? Well, the kindergartners want to eat chicken nuggets and french fries in the cafeteria too, okay? But seriously, why full-day kindergarten? First, the community is in favor of it. Back in 2012, when we did our kindergarten registration, I conducted a survey during that registration period, okay? And I asked the community, are you interested in a full-day program? Because not every community is. And it was important to me to find out, does the community even want this as an option? With that, we had 64 parents return the survey. And out of the 64 parents, 57 parents marked yes to a full-day option in the Hopatcong School District, and 7 parents marked no. So, as you can see from this data, it is something that this community wants. Again, why full-day kindergarten? The Common Core. In 2011, 45 states adopted the Common Core. The Common Core is written for a full-day program. So, in my eyes, it's not fair to our children. How do we give them everything they need in our half-a-day program? Why full-day kindergarten? Research. I can stand here and I can tell you statement after statement in research that supports that children progress and develop quicker, more efficiently in a full-day program. But I'm not going to do that this evening because I brought my own research with me. Okay? As Mrs. Randina stated, we put into place a full-day pilot kindergarten program last year. And I am proud, very, very proud, to have our district teacher of the year step up here, who is the teacher to tell you why her program is so successful. And I'm going to ask you to listen to this and go with this. Here's my motto. I'm going to steal a little bit from Nike, and I'm going to go around, I may even beg, and I know it's up to numbers, and I think I know now you're all supportive, but I'm going to steal a little bit from Nike, and I'm going to say to you, just do it. But I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to ask you not to just do it, but to do it right. And Mrs. Mortello is going to explain the right way, because I think we did it right, and she has proof and data to show that tonight, and I'm very excited about that.
Me too. I'm very excited to be here and share our program's success. When Tracy asked me if I'd like to speak to the board, I jumped at the chance. I mean, I want to brag about my kids. I want to tell you all the great things that we're doing in there. During the summer, we tested all the incoming children coming into kindergarten. And from those test results, we selected 13 students. We identified them as being at-risk students. One criteria was they needed to have prior pre-K experience. We felt that if they were struggling with the very basics from the very beginning, that was our target group, and those were the kids we needed to help most. I have to admit, way back when Tracy asked if I wanted to pilot this full-day program, I was thrilled. I thought, oh my gosh, finally, I have the chance to teach all the things I want to teach. I can delve deeply. My kids can absorb it. I might be able to even tie a shoe or two. And I also worked for other districts where I taught full day, and it was very successful and had an enormous positive impact on the district when done right. When I received my class list and I had a chance to look through all the test scores, I have to admit I became a little frightened by the enormous challenge that I was faced with. I thought, what did I get myself into? Normally, I had a class of 18 to 20 students where there were only 4 or 5 at-risk kids, and that proved to be very difficult in itself. Now I'm faced with 13 students who were all at risk. How was I ever going to get them to read and write by the end of the year when they came in without letters and sound recognition? So I did what any good teacher would do. I packed up those test scores. I ran down to Tracy's office, knocked on the door, and very professionally, I sat down and I cried like a baby. And I said, I can't do this. There is no way. I'm never going to be able to get all these kids reading right. I have SGOs to meet. There's no way I can do this. And if you know Tracy, as I know Tracy, she gave me one of her pep talks. She has vision and she is very positive. And she said, you could do it. You're the person for the job. I know you could get this done. She had me believing in myself. So she patted me on the back and sent me back to my room, but not without support. Tracy and I worked hand in hand. And we talked and discussed all the different ways and what we needed to put in place for this program to be successful. Well, we did it, didn't we? We really did it. And we have proof, we have evidence that we'd like to share with you.
First of all, Mrs. Martello, are all your kindergarten students reading on grade level right now?
Oh, yes, they are.
All of them. And they are the lowest at-risk students.
Okay, so the two SGOs that I decided to pick were letter identification and sound recognition, because these were the skills that they lacked coming in. We thought this would be the most appropriate for this group. They had to learn letters and sounds, they had to learn to read and write. So back in the fall, if you take a look, the pink bar shows where they were in the fall. And most of the students were very low in letter identification. Then we tested them mid-year. Each and every student, that's the green bar on the top, is either at, they're meeting, they're surpassing, or they're very close to meeting not mid-year expectations, end of the year expectations. That's something to cheer about. Do you want to get to the next slide?
I'm sorry. Didn't do my job.
And you can see that's the same for sound recognition. The pink bar shows where they were in the fall, and the green bar shows where they are now. Most of the children are either at or exceeding end of the year expectations. Then we also tested them on a DRA level. So of course when they first came in, they couldn't read or write. So giving the test, I knew they were going to fail, but I needed to have something to compare it to. So there is no bar for the fall. They all scored 0. So now I tested them in the winter, which just at the end of January this came from. And we have, let's see here, 7 children reading on level 2, 4 children reading on level 1, and 1 child reading on level 4. And what that means is, by the end of kindergarten, take note, they need to be reading on a level 3 to be considered passing. So they're either surpassing it right now, mid-year. They're very close because you go from a 2 to a 3. Or they're on track, and I know each and every student will make it. This is great success, something for all of us to cheer about, something for us to learn from. But it's not my success. It's Hudson Maxim's success. It's Tracy's success. She could have just sat me in my room and said, Yvonne, go get them. You have all day to do it. You only have 12 kids. Differentiate. You can do this. You got it. Go, girl. No, she didn't do that. She didn't. She understood the depth of the students' needs, and she provided the necessary supports. I have never worked harder than I've worked this year in my entire career. When I'm not working till 10 at night, exploring ways to reach my students, you can find me passed out on my couch. It's not a pretty picture. Not at all. My son will wake me up. Come on, Mom. Let's go to bed. Close your computer. Tomorrow's another day. But I have also never received as much support in getting and keeping my kids on grade level. These were the supports that our class received which led us to our success. And there are a lot of them. I have academic skills for 30 minutes, 3 times in a 6-day cycle. It really needs to be every day, but I'll take what I can get. I have a full-time aide. She is priceless, and I could not not do this job without her. These children are now self-sufficient. I need to teach in small groups, but I also need another adult in the room so that she can keep them on task in educational activities that are engaging while I'm teaching in small groups. They have a very short attention span. They need close learning. I have a small class of 12, which feels too large given the population, the age, their needs, and their attention span. I have a retired kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Fromm, who I thank God for every day, who gives her own time and comes in twice a week for 40 minutes to meet with 4 of my lowest students, one-on-one. 7 of my students are taking advantage of an after-school program that was provided by Hopatcong. And Mrs. Robotham, one of our kindergarten teachers, and Miss Susanna, our special ed teacher from our building, are heading that program. And they meet with my 7 students twice a week from January until May. And I wasn't sure, was it 2 days a week? 2 days a week. I have the best group of supportive parents. We work hand in hand, lots of communication. They know where their children are, they know where they're going, they know what they need to review. I'm team teaching this year with Lynn Fromm, our volunteer, our academic skills teacher, Linda Blazer, and what we do is we split my 12 students up into 3 groups. We each take 4 students, and we do this 2 times in a 6-day cycle. At that time, we teach guided reading, guided writing, and we do skill work. It's proving to be very successful. Miss S., our guidance counselor, meets with 3 of my students to help them with their emotional needs. Mrs. G., our ESL teacher, who works daily with one of my students, 30 minutes a day. And I have Mrs. Gatona, who provides speech to one of my students on a weekly basis. Well, teachers love to teach, we do, but we also love to learn. We need that time to go out and get us invigorated and spark and come back and do something great and new with our kids. And this year, I've received the most professional development in all of the years that I've taught. Over the summer, my colleagues and I at kindergarten, we went to an Orton Gillingham workshop that lasted 1 week. Every single solitary day, I use what I learned there with my students, and it's having a great impact. I went to a BEAR workshop for struggling readers and writers this year. Loved it, brought everything back that I learned, and I'm using it with my kids. Right now, as Dr. Mullane said, and you also, Mrs. Randina, I'm attending 2 Department of Education workshops, one with Tracy Hens and Dr. Mullane, the other with my kindergarten colleagues. And both are focusing on meeting the Common Core standards, but in a developmentally appropriate way. It's no easy task, given the age range, the rigor of the Common Core, the varying levels of preparedness of the children entering kindergarten, and their attentiveness, which is really a key indicator of their academic success. Lastly, and most importantly, our kindergarten team implemented a Common Core planning time during our lunchtime. We need that time to meet, to talk, to know what's going right in each other's rooms, what's going wrong, how can we help each other, what worked, what did you do with this child, I don't know how to get to him, right? And sometimes we complain about our spouses. So, in my experience, full day works when coupled with the correct supports from the very start of a child's formal education. And I have to thank Mrs. Hens for doing that for our kindergarten students. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Martello, because you are the absolute reason those children are succeeding. So give her another round. All right, let's talk a little bit about our current program. Currently, we have 2 a.m. half-day kindergarten classes, and they are being taught by Mrs. Nee. Give yourself a stand up, Mrs. Nee. And Mrs. DiLorenzo. And we have 3 p.m. Classes. Mrs. Robotham, who works with us half a day, and Mrs. Nee and Mrs. DiLorenzo pick up the additional p.m. Mrs. Martello is our pilot full-day class, and then we also have 1 full-day special education kindergarten class. Taking a look into the future, I wish I had a crystal ball that told me how many kindergarten students I would receive each year, but that doesn't happen. So right now, we are in the process of kindergarten registration. We have 67 parents who have signed up for appointments right now, and 16 potential preschool students who are moving up that may go into our regular education kindergarten. So kudos to Mrs. Miller and the special education department and our preschool department, because apparently that's working too. So give them a round of applause. So right now we're at 83. Does that get larger? Yes, it definitely does. We currently this year have 102. What I'm looking for the 14-15 school year, I would love to have 6 sessions of full-day kindergarten in order to keep our class size down, which I feel is very important, and I think, which Mrs. Mortello has proven, is the reason for success. 1 section of full-day special education kindergarten. All right, Mr. Lamb, you can leave the room right now. I'm gonna all right? It's just what it is, all right? Okay, here we go. I need an addition of 2.5 teachers. 0.5, because one of our teachers right now is at halftime. Here's the big number, 210, a little over $210,000. How do I get that? Half of a salary plus 2 additional salaries. Benefits for that halftime salary, because right now halftime teachers do not get benefits. And then family benefits for the other 2 positions. If someone that we hired is single, we'll save a little money there, but I can't. I don't know that, so I have to absolutely budget with family benefits. So there it is. Sure you don't want to leave, Mr. Lamb? All right, here we go. Supplies to set up rooms, $17,800. And what I did to base this on, 2 years ago, I don't know, it seemed like everybody in Hopatcong waited till August to sign up for kindergarten, and I got this influx in August, a tremendous amount of registrations. And I remember talking to Mr. Hallenbach, the director of curriculum at the time. Like, what am I going to do? He's like, we're going to have to open up another kindergarten. Do you remember that? And then in the summer we had to approve an additional kindergarten. And Mrs. Mortello was the teacher for that kindergarten. I remember calling her and calling her in and saying, we need to set up a classroom. Excuse me? In 2 weeks, right? We worked Labor Day. It was Labor Day weekend. We came in with our husbands to set up the classroom, right? My husband even painted your chairs.
I use them every day.
An additional lunchroom worker, because they do have to eat those chicken nuggets and french fries. So we will need an additional worker in the lunchroom in order to do that. So the total estimated cost is $237, a little over $237,000 to run the program. Wish I may, wish I might. Have I wished this wish tonight? I'm going to make a couple wishes. Because remember, I'm asking you to do it, but it's more importantly that we work together to do it right. So I'm asking to keep class size under 20. I'm asking to put common planning time for teachers, for them, not during their lunch. I applaud them for doing it. It's just that it hasn't worked out for kindergarten this year because they're half day. So if we have full day, I think I can work that in with your help. An ESP for each classroom. That's what they need. State Department of Education. We're going to all these professional developments. What do they say? That's the way it works.
And that wasn't in your salary proposal, was it?
No, it was not. No, no. These are my wishes.
Okay.
Additional academic skills instructor for Hudson Maxim School, because these kindergartners need that proper support. I truly believe. Mrs. Mortello is absolutely wonderful, but that extra support really does help those children to learn. And if we're having a full day, how do we help everyone? How do we really truly help them? So I would love an additional academic skills. And then continued professional development for kindergarten teachers, because it is better than ever this year. I thank you. And I'm going to leave you with this. Remember, just don't do it. Do it right. Thank you.